I want to talk about how important alone time is for special interests and just, sensory processing and everything. Alone time is great. And sometimes I tend to forget that when there's someone I want to spend time with, and then I spend time alone and I remember, oh yeah, this is really great. So I'm trying to prioritize myself now, but yeah, special interests, it's kind of, all of mine take up lots of time. Like, I love reading books, playing video games, painting, those kinds of things. So they take up a lot of time, and I really need to be able to fully immerse myself in the thing and be uninterrupted. Like, phone on silent, no sounds other than, if I'm playing a video game, obviously there's the video game sound, but if I'm reading, I don't want any sound. If I'm painting, I listen to music. But I have to be in control of my environment while I'm doing my thing, and I need to have a good big block of time where I can do whatever it is that I want to do. So I had a nice big weekend to myself this weekend, and I got to play hours and hours of Witcher 3, which I don't know which number of playthrough I'm on by now. But yeah, I don't know, once a year since I got the game, at least. So got to play hours of Witcher 3 and The Wild Hunt. And I got to paint, and I'm reading the third Wheel of Time book, Dragon Reborn. So I got to do each of those things for a nice chunk of time. And I also ran and did my dishes. I got, a few things done in addition to being able to do the things that I really enjoy doing, but often don't have the time to do. And I still got to watch a couple of episodes of One Piece in there. I'm still working on it. It's like 1,000 episodes plus, and yeah, I'm chipping away at it. I'm somewhere in the 700s or 800s by now. But yeah, it's really nice to have an entire weekend to myself. It was really nice. And yeah, the reason for the weekend all to myself may not have been extremely pleasant, but it was necessary. It was definitely necessary. And me not having enough weekends to myself contributed to me having a weekend to myself. I have experienced burnout once in the last month and a half, or sensory overload, or whatever you want to call it, a neurological event. I don't know, but it wasn't fun, and I noticed that it happens a lot when I spend time in an environment that is not mine, that's not mine to control, that it's not at my comfort level. Like, everything's, light, sound, smells, even the softness of the furniture. So having just been in my environment all weekend, I feel way better than I did on Friday. And I need to be alone in my environment. Like, I don't even particularly enjoy having company. Even if it's someone whose company I like, having them in my house makes me a little on edge. Like a little, like, oh, I've got to entertain them. And I know that to most people, my house is probably boring AF because I live in the middle of nowhere. I have internet, and that's usually all that anyone needs to entertain themselves, but I still feel like I'm pressured to do more. Like, I don't know, I'm a terrible hostess for one thing. I never have anything to drink except water and coffee and oat milk. And that's for the coffee. Or regular milk. I go back and forth. But yeah, you get it. And, you know, my snacks and food is all vegetarian, so non-vegetarians, and it's usually healthy. I like to eat whole unprocessed foods, so, you know, it's just funny. Like, most Americans don't want to snack on apples and almonds. We'd probably all be a lot better off if we did, but, you know, yeah, I feel like a terrible hostess because my food situation is not the greatest for the average person, and my environmental preferences. I'm like, I want it quiet and not bright, and but yeah, when I'm all alone, I get to control that, and I don't have to worry about entertaining anyone. I've been deprioritizing myself for a while, and I really just realized how much my mental health and neurological health, whatever you want to call it, has been suffering because of that. And I was taught when I was a kid that other people's needs come first and mine come last. And I'm kind of, even though I've outgrown a lot of the teachings from my childhood, which were kind of not good teachings, I'm still learning. Like, treat people the way you want to be treated doesn't get you the treatment that you want. Like, that is just a good way to be used and taken advantage of. And I'm just learning that. At 45, I'm just learning that. No matter how much you pour yourself into someone else, they are not obliged to reciprocate. Obligated, whichever, you know, they're not obligated to reciprocate whatever energy you're pouring into it. And it's not fair to get angry if they don't, unless you have some sort of pre-acknowledged plan that is how things are going to go down. And yeah, putting other people's needs before my own, that's not good. And it's not selfish for me to take care of myself. It's like I've had to remind myself of this. I realized it 2 years ago after something happened. Like, oh my gosh, I just need to remember, it's like the airplane thing. You have to put on your oxygen mask before you can help anyone else in a crash, or in the event that a oxygen mask might drop down. I'm like, you've got to put on your oxygen mask before you can help anyone else. And I just have to remember that, because people will bleed you dry. And, and it won't be their fault. It'll be, it's mine for just offering up a vein. So, I'm prioritizing myself. I need to do that, or I'm going to start. I need to hold myself to it. Because I have to do that in order to, keep myself in balance, and keep myself out of sensory overload, and prevent meltdowns and everything. So if I put other people's needs first, like I had been doing, and I was having frequent sensory overloads, frequent migraines, semi-frequent, I don't know if a sensory overload and a meltdown are the same thing. Sensory overload can come from too much sensory stimuli, and I seem to have an event also when there's too much overwhelming, like, pressure coming from, like, if someone's pressuring me, and if I feel emotionally dysregulated, that kind of thing. So I need to regulate myself and not worry about other people until I can get myself regulated. And, other people, unless they ask specifically for my help, don't need it. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that need help, but I can't help them until I help myself. So I just have to remember that. And I need to remember that time alone is the way to do that. It's really the best thing for me is to have regular time alone. There were a couple of months in the fall where I went a couple of months without spending an entire 24 hours at my house, my home that I pay for. So that couple of months, I wasn't getting even a full 24-hour cycle in my own home. And I would come home from work and have time to, like, eat dinner, wash my dishes, sit down and maybe watch an episode of anime, or do like just one little task or something, and then run and shower and get everything ready for the next day and go to bed. Rinse and repeat. And that was all I had time for. I didn't have time to get into my hobbies, which are really immersive. Like, I need that big chunk of time to spend on those. And I didn't have any time to get into anything except, just watching, chipping off little little bits of one piece here and there. So yeah, and then I was spending the weekends at my boyfriend's house to make it easier for him. And he didn't ask me to do that specifically. He didn't specifically say, come here, it's to make it easier on me. And I made the assumption that if I didn't, since I do live in the middle of nowhere, and since my environment and my environmental preferences are the exact opposite of his, you know, I thought, oh, well, it's kind of a hassle and all of that. So I got myself into that situation where I wasn't spending time at my house. And so that kind of came to a, whatever you call it. Yeah, I got to the point where I was like, oh my God, I have to have time alone. I haven't had a day at my house in 2 months. So, and then told him that it was kind of necessary for me to have at least one day on the weekend to spend by myself. And he was like, yeah, that's fine. That's good. Everybody needs alone time. I need alone time. We both need alone time. When we agreed on alone time. So I just need to remember to take advantage of that. And if I don't, I'm going to end up suffering for it. And that can spill over and affect other people if I'm, you know, if I'm dysregulated and not in a good place, then that kind of spills over. Because I have been at his house at least 2 times that I had sensory overload at his house. One time I even got in his closet and shut the door. It's like he does have a lot of sensory things there. Sometimes it's okay, but other times if I'm already kind of reaching that point, it'll just tip me right over the edge. So yeah, so I need to be in my own environment as much as I can to keep things like that from happening. Anyway, that's my rant for tonight. Rant, ramble, whatever you want to call it.